Hello everyone, welcome to our webinar. We're delighted to have you here today. ETAP 24 offers an impressive new set of integrated power analysis modules. Through this webinar, we will showcase key new features on the new user interface. These features will make the use of ETAP easier and more productive. At first, you will see there are major changes. However, as I'm going to explain during this presentation, it's going to be quite intuitive and you should feel very comfortable after watching this presentation. The reason for the new modern ribbon interface is to ensure a more productive and seamless and more intuitive experience that combines user intent and command. The main change is the study groups. The study groups will have 15 total groups. They range from edit, power flow, short circuit, protection group, the arc flash group, safety, power quality, reliability. And for each one of these groups, you're going to have a set study modules. So for example, the power flow group will have the load flow, the DC load flow, the imbalance or distribution load flow, which includes unified AC and DC load flow, open phase, time series load flow, load allocation, quasi-dynamic load flow, sustainability analysis, and grid code PQ capability. Now let's jump into the software so I can show you how these study groups were put together and how you can access them. So here is the ETAP interface. This is ETAP 24, and you'll notice that the study groups are on the left-hand side toolbar, right? So we have the edit mode, which gives you access to all of the AC and DC elements. I think we're all familiar with this. And we're going to talk about the ribbon interface up here shortly, but it's important that we understand the study groups first. So as we switch over from the edit mode to the load flow analysis mode, you'll notice that all of the power flow analysis modules I read to you live right here. So you have your conventional or balanced load flow, you have the unbalanced load flow right here, you have the DC load flow, you have load allocation, you have time series. And for each one of these studies, next to it you have the analysis section. So for example, if you wanted to run the balanced load flow, you would select PQ, run load flow, and then you could see that displayed here on your single line diagram, right? If you wanted to go to unbalanced load flow, for example, we do the same thing, select unbalanced load flow, and then just simply select the study case, right? And then run unbalanced load flow. Here we're running the unified. So if I go into the study case, you'll notice I have my AC and DC unified load flow. And that's the reason why you're able to see AC and DC power flow unified solved at the same time. Now moving over to the right, you have the reports. So you have your report manager, right? So here you could select and visualize the complete load flow report. In this case, we have the unbalanced load flow, but this would be the same for your balanced load flow, your time domain load flow, your DC load flow, load allocation. And then moving to the right on the ribbon bar, you have your display. So the display, if you are familiar with the display options, is that, right? You could call the display options from here, but these are the shortcuts. So for example, you could display the units or you could hide the units, right? You could express a voltage as a percentage of the voltage drop, kV voltage, right? You could display, for example, you want real power, reactive power, amps, kVA, right? So it's essentially shortcuts to your display options, right? You could display plot. So the plot analyzer for when you're doing time domain load flow. Your alerts are going to be right here, right? So you could see here the critical alerts and the marginal alerts are on the bottom there, same as before. You could launch your analyzer, your balance or unbalanced load flow analyzer. And then here you have your revision, right, configuration. So this is different ways to represent different operating conditions. This is part of the three-dimensional database. This is the presentation that we're looking at right now. And then over on the right-hand side, you have your data revision. So the data revision is when you're doing planning for the future, or you're trying to do arc flash mitigation or a protection coordination study. This gives you the ability to change protected device settings or any type of system data without making changes to the base, correct? So the base is understood to be how the facility is constructed or how it is currently operating right now. You then have your color contour, and then finally you have your scenarios, right? So if you have scenarios, you can call them from right here. So this carries over to the other group. So for example, the short circuit group is organized in the same manner, right? So on the top left, you have your AC balance short circuit. So this is the classic ANSI IEC short circuit engine. You could see here that you could select, for example, your three-phase, your single-phase duty. Remember, duty means the software will also perform a device duty evaluation automatically after you run short circuit. You could, if you are looking for any unbalance like line to ground, line to line, you have the shortcuts right here. And then it's kind of nice that over on the right-hand side, to the right of the report, you also have the display of your study case options. So right now, we're using, for example, the three-phase device duty, right? If I change, for example, the unified, so if I go to unbalanced short circuit, you could see here, right, which method I have selected. So in this case, I have selected the momentary system duty. And then also the DC network as well, so the DC short circuit, right? And same thing, you have your configuration manager right here, so different operating conditions, your three-dimensional database, revision data that we talked about, and your scenarios, right? Moving on to the next one, right? The protection. You have the overcurrent. So for protection, there's a good amount of tools, because under your protection, you have your star OLV mode, right? So overcurrent TCC. And under that, you have the star auto evaluation, you have sequence of operations, you have the energy and current limiting characteristics, which is brand new in ETAP 24, zone selective interlock, and also arc flash auto evaluation. As well as the star Z OLV mode, which allows you to do distance modeling, right? So all of those you could find right here. As you could see, you have the ability to create a star view right here. So when you select any protected device, you could go ahead and create a star view just by selecting the create star view shortcut. And then obviously the toolbar you saw, it dynamically changes, right? So whenever you have an active star view, then your plot options and TCC tools automatically display on the ribbon. So the ribbon toolbar that you see up here is dynamic, right? So it'll change whether you have the star view open or whether you have the OLV open. And then moving over on the protection group toolbar, you notice that you have your sequence of operation right here, right? So you could insert a fault. You have also the ability to update your short circuit on the TCC. The report is right here, right? This tells you what is on the study case option. So right now we have selected the maximum half cycle symmetrical. Again, your study case or briefcase is right here. And then star auto, right? So if you wanted to evaluate the protected device settings or proper protection of equipment, you could select the branch and then just run the auto evaluation right here. There's the settings report, right? So everything is neatly organized from left to right. So the most useful most used tools are on the left, and you begin to make your way towards the right. Start auto evaluation is here, the settings report, right? So you create your Excel settings report. Again, right, you have your configuration viewer right here. You could select which operating condition you have. And then over on the right-hand side, you have your revision and scenarios, right? So as you could see, you're now starting to see the pattern, right? How these modules are organized. Let's do a couple of them just so you get familiar now with ArcFlash, right? So the first thing is you now have a clear understanding on whether it is ANSI or IEC. It's kind of nice that when you select IEC, right, the display right here will also tell you, right, that you are, some of the study case options that you have. So it's like a quick peek preview into what is inside the study case. You could go ahead and select from the ArcFlash group. So inside the ArcFlash group, we have the IEEE 1584. We have the ability for you to select ANSI or IEC. You also have the high voltage arc flash or arc fault module. This is, remember, you select this when you have locations above 15 kV or basically locations that fall outside the IEEE 1584 standard. You have DC arc flash, as you could see here, and in ETAP 24, that includes the IEC 61660, which is DC transients. And finally, you have all of the arc flash calculators that you are used to, right? So here, let me quickly just show you the remaining portions of this study group. So when you have the ability to create a star TCC, right? So if you select the branch or the elements, you have the ability to create a star view, which is very valuable when you're doing an arc flash study, especially arc flash mitigation, right? You could launch, for example, the enclosure editor, right? So it's you could always go from the bus, but this is a quick shortcut. You could print your labels. So the e-label maker, remember, you could customize your labels. You have your alerts right here, and then you have your calculators. So you have the calculator from the 1584 to DC arc flash, high voltage arc flash, and also the DGUV. And then again, right, following the standard, you have your configuration, three-dimensional database, your revision, and your scenarios. And this carries over to pretty much all of the different groups. So the safety group will include the light risk assessment, the capacitor hazard, the electric shock, and of course the ground grid. And then same thing, right? When you select one of these modules, it will automatically display the report. So moving on to the next group, you have the power quality. So with power quality, you have your harmonics. This would be when you need to comply with the IEEE 519 standard. I think most of you probably are familiar with this module. A pretty new module that was released in 22.5 is the unbalanced harmonics. So remember, anytime you have single phase loads, so for example, many EV chargers, right, in large industrial and commercial facilities, then anytime you have single phase loads that introduce harmonics, you have the ability to model that now with the unbalanced harmonics. And then reliability assessment, which also includes techno-economical studies. Moving on, you have the dynamic group, and inside the dynamic group, you have the usual suspects like transient stability. You have the user dynamic module, UDM. You have your motor acceleration, both static and dynamic, and you have voltage stability. Also, for those of you who use the EMT, so you're doing very fast transients or electromagnetic, this is also where you would launch that. So it's this used to be on the toolbar on the right-hand side. It's now right here, and it changes dynamically, right? So that's the transient stability toolbar. This is the motor acceleration toolbar. Here is your dynamic and your static. And then again, over on the right-hand side, you have the report manager to output the reports. You have the plot view options. You have the analyzer to compare multiple reports. And then again, the three-dimensional database, right? You have your relay view, you have the revision data, and then your scenario. And the same thing is true for the optimal group, optimal analysis group. So this includes mainly distribution and transmission, like contingency analysis, optimum capacitor placement, Volvar optimization, and the feeder hosting. Optimal switching group, you have SSM, or switching sequence manager, switching optimization, fault management, and system restoration. You have cable system, so this is where you would find UGS, cable pooling, and also the ability to do the cable schedule and cable manager. For those of you who are doing interconnection studies, these are going to be located inside the renewable mode, and that's going to include your load flow for grid code or interconnection studies, harmonic grid code, transient stability grid code mode for frequency and voltage write-through, and then your battery sizing and battery discharge. And then finally, control system groups will have both the AC, brand new AC and DC control system diagram, right? So this is where you're going to be able to access that. Now, now that we're a little bit more familiar with the ribbon interface, right? You also have the ability to, well, the animation is being there. I'll show you where that is, but also quickly change the color of your displays. Very similar to how you would change the display on your cell phone, right? From any of the groups, you could just simply go up here to the Windows theme and then go ahead and select a different color theme. So right now I'm switching from the default blue to lime, and then back to blue. And then, as I mentioned earlier, right, whenever you're doing any type of power flow analysis, whether it's the balance, unbalance, right? Let's go ahead and switch here to the load flow group. Let's go ahead and run a quick load flow simulation. And then remember, under the display options, right, you have the ability to also display the animation, which is what we saw briefly here on the PowerPoint. Let's learn a little bit more about the quick access toolbar. The quick access toolbar is the toolbar that you will see all the way on top. It provides a one-click access to the most frequent used features. So things you do all the time. You don't want to be switching between the different groups or the ribbon options. So like, for example, things like print, you want to undo something real quick. You want to turn on the grid lines. Zoom to fit page, right? That's something that all of us use quite a bit. If you're used to the keyboard shortcuts, that still hasn't changed. Data blocks, right? We apply data blocks all the time. Whenever you want to check for circuit continuity, whether items are energized or not, things like save. This toolbar can be customized, right? What that means is, let's say that I wanted to add the save command up here. So we could go here, right? And then we could just simply click save right here. And now we see the save button up here, right? So I'll go ahead and save. I use the save all the time, so I want to make sure that this is prominently displayed. Also, right, zoom to fit page, you want to see the entire single line diagram, or sometimes we get lost. Where's my single line diagram? So by simply selecting zoom to fit page, that'll put or automatically fit my single line diagram to my OLV. And then you notice right next to this save button, you have this pull down menu. And this is how you customize this the QAT, or the quick access toolbar. If you go over to more commands, for example, you have the ability also to customize the order. So I want my save to be all the way on top. I want it to be next to my undo and redo. And also you have the ability to put a quick separator, so a little band. So I'm gonna have undo, separator, save, print. I wanna have another separator right here. and then open project continues on. I'm gonna click OK, and now you could see how I was able to customize the quick access toolbar. So you have the ability now to undo here. I've got my saves, so you notice I moved them to the right, to the left, right? And I added these little dividers to just neatly organize, right? So here's my print, here's my open project location. I don't use pan all that much because I always use the shortcut, right? I simply press the space bar and pan. So I'm gonna go ahead and hide it. So I'm gonna go and again, select here from the customize quick bar toolbar and then uncheck my pan. There it is. Now, let's continue on and let's talk about the ribbon toolbars and groups, because this is probably where you're gonna spend most of your time, right? So this is the ribbon tabs and groups. So you're gonna have a total of these particular sections here: file, edit, project, collaborate. And it's gonna make more sense once I show you in the program, but just know that file is called the ETAP Backstage. And that is where you're gonna find, for example, things like data exchange, the launchpad, the preferences, right? And everything else is just part of the ribbon. So edit or mode, model, depending on where you are, will give you access to the dumpster, to the revision data, the three-dimensional database, auto build, templates. Project will give you access to, for example, the protected device asset. Collaborate will launch, for example, things like, or give you the ability to show NetPM DataX. So let me show you where those are located. So let's start with the file. So we're talking about this toolbar right here. So as I select file, you'll notice how it takes me to the Backstage. This is the ETAP Backstage. It allows you to call for preferences. So this would be kind of like the INI, right? For those of you who have advanced settings, that's where the options live now. You have the ability to call the launchpad, right? So if you, some of you like the most recent list right here, launchpad is access again from the ETAP file or Backstage. More importantly, you have the ability to call data exchange. For example, when you select DataX here on the Backstage or file, you have the ability to, for example, do internal ETAP network data exchange. You have the ability for CAD data exchange. So this includes Revit, AutoCAD, Aviva Electrical or Aviva Engineering now. The ability to exchange data with EMTRV or and PSCAD, standard formats like multi-speak, CIM, IEEE import, universal mapping, GIS and eTracks, right? So the ability to import an electrical model from a GIS database. This is also where you would find, for example, things like windmill import. And also you have the legacy software, right? The legacy software is you will find some other power system analysis, import utilities, ranging from SKM, Easy Power, Dig Silent, NIPLAN, Palladium Design Base. You can import from PSSE, right? So this is gonna be all under the file pull-down menu or what is called the ETAP Backstage. And then moving on with this toolbar, when I select model, you'll notice, right, that this is dynamically changes when you have a study. For example, in this case, I have PowerFlow group selected, or whether you have edit, but it's pretty much going to be the same, right? So again, edit is for the edit mode. And here you're gonna find, again, things like your dumpster. You're gonna have the ability to select from the different configurations, your three-dimensional database. It makes things very prominent, right? Easy to access. So things like, for example, the user-defined symbols, right? Where before it was a little bit hidden. Now you could select, hey, I want this size, I want this particular symbol to be on my edit. You have the ability to turn on auto build from right here. You have your adjustment, your trace, and of course, your data block. Your data block is also up here on the quick access toolbar, right? But it's also available here under the edit. This edit, remember, changes when you have a study group selected. And instead of edit, that's going to be called model. And that gives you access to also, the same, right? The zoom, to turn on the grid lines, turn off the grid lines, your three-dimensional database, the symbols are still there, and data block, right? Again, that's called edit or model, depending on whether you're on a study mode or a study group or edit mode. And then the next ones are the same for every single one, right? You have whether you're in a study group or an edit mode, you'll have a project which allows you to, under the information, you have the ability to do protected device asset, which is a new feature. You have the ability, all of this, what you see here, cable, lines, loads, category, presentation. These are for you to change the element and plot defaults, right? So before you would have a defaults pull-down menu, it is now here under the project pull-down menu. So you could see here property defaults, plot defaults. So anything that is project information or plot and element defaults, you change it from the project pull-down menu. Next, you have the collaborate selection, which is for ETAP API, NetPM, data exchange, as you could see right here. Next, you have the reference, which allows you to do library management, library quick pick. So for example, if you wanted to build a quick cable, you just select the cable library right here, and you notice how it's the same thing as going to the library pull-down menu before and selecting cable. So you could very quickly browse or quick pick from this library, mainly when you want to browse the library or you want to add elements, right? You're going to be spending a lot of time here under the reference pull-down menu. Next, you have the tools pull-down selection or tab in the ribbon. So these are all tabs in the ribbon bar. The tool, you have the Python, right? Scripting examples. You have the ArcFlash label maker. You have the calculators that we talked about earlier. They're also found right here. Calculators for ArcFlash for lighting risk, and also the contour settings and the ETAP Copilot, right? That allows you to search, AI to search through the reports that are generated with ETAP or the help file. And then the next tab here on the ribbon is now View. This allows you to do the System Manager and OLV GIS view, windows, and toggles. So for example, if you wanted to quickly browse your UGS or your ground grid or your TCCs, this is where you're going to find the view. Also, this is where you would find the close your windows. So for those of you who like, for example, close all presentations, you would find that option right here. And and the help, right? So this is where you're going to find about ETAP all the way on the right-hand side, and then multiple user guides depending on the module. There's also this ETAP command right here. So for example, if you're not sure where to find, for example, I want to close all my windows, right? Then you could just type in Windows, right? And then you notice how there's an option called Close All. So I could select Close All, and then it's the same thing as going to the View, and then selecting Close All Presentations or closing all windows. Same thing, right? If I want to open, right? So now I close all my presentations. If I want to open my OLV, I could just type in OLV, and then here say display OLV presentation. So it'll display the last OLV presentation that I had open, right? So that's the same thing as selecting the OLV from the ribbon bar toolbar. So make sure that when in doubt, right, as you're getting used to the new toolbar interface, you also have the help here of the calling the command, right? It's the little light bulb. And finally, right, you can also add a tab, right? So you're not just limited to the 7 tabs that you see here. You could also, again, go to this pull-down menu and select, hey, I want to customize. So go to More Commands, and then you customize your ribbon. So right now, these are all of the main tabs. And you could create a new tab. So I'm going to call this new tab. Let's go ahead and call it my tab productivity. And then I select OK. And then now you notice that it is right next to edit. So it's going to be right here. So you have file or the backstage, you have edit, and now you have my tab. And it's empty because now you get to populate it, right? So I go back to the here, the quick access toolbar, pull down menu, select more commands, and select customize ribbon. And here's my tab custom. So this is all the available tools. So I want to do, for example, I do a lot of arc flash labels. So I want to go ahead and put that under my tab. View, I like, I typically close all of my window or tile them. So I want to, under view, select windows, and then go ahead and add that to my tab. So as soon as you click OK, you notice how you're starting to build your windows, my e-label. So this is my productivity tab. You're no longer just confined to the ETAP tabs that are offered here. Everything is customizable. And the biggest productivity tool is the ability to customize these tabs, right? I want to thank you all for joining us today, as well as the new modules. So thank you all. I hope this has been helpful, and let us know if you have any questions. Thank you.